welcome back folks. My name's Shane. You're listening to the thick and juicy tones of the Audile Toad. This is an overdrive and distortion pedal that's made in Australia. And guess what? It's not based on a tube screamer, it's not based on a Klon, and it's not based on a blues breaker. It's its own unique circuit, which is awesome. Let's talk about the controls and switches on here. So in the center, we've got our dark and natural switch. In the natural position, we're getting symmetrical clipping, which sounds smoother to your ear. And it also is much brighter than in the dark position. Now the dark position still sounds really good. It actually has a little bit more headroom. So if you want the same amount of gain, you kind of have to crank up the gain control just a little bit more, and I'll showcase that in the video. We get the standard gain and volume controls at the top here. So the further you turn them to the right, the more of each you're going to get. And then we've got our pre-tone. Now this affects the input signal. So as your guitar's being plugged in, you can completely revoice it using this control. So kind of think of this as a bit of a voicing control that can get you vastly different sounds depending on where you have it. The choke control is a high pass filter which allows all the highs to pass and adjust the low end response. So with it all the way to the left, we're getting that big full range sound that this pedal is capable of. And then as we bring it up, it's going to start shaving off the lows. So you get a tighter low end response, which is really cool. The post-tone control on this side is the opposite. It's a low-pass filter. So if we have it all the way to the left, it's going to attenuate the top end to its maximum. And as we bring it back around, it's going to open those high-end frequencies back up. So you can kind of think of this as a traditional tone control in that regard. The biggest difference between high and low-pass filters over just a tone control, it's not affecting the other end of the spectrum. So this means you can adjust the choke and the post-tone control together to get a sound that really works for your particular tone, rig, and all that kind of stuff. I love the fact that this pedal has the nice soft switching, and when you click this on, there's no audible pops or clicks or anything coming through your amplifier. And I'm using the Fender Blues Deluxe today, and you'll hear just how quiet this switch is. For an extra 49 bucks, you can buy this tadpole kit here, which allows you to use one of 3 different chips. So by default, you get the standard chip in here, which is what you'll be listening to in the video. And then later on, I'll show you the bright mod and also the mid-scooped mod. This is a really cool addition. So if you like to mod pedals, you can actually incorporate some of your own stuff if you're that way inclined. I'm not smart enough to know how to do that, but you can also buy a couple of different tone chips, which are in this little box right here. Before we get into it, a massive thanks to Michael from Audile for sending this out and sponsoring this video. If you want to take a look at this, I'll link it down in the description box below. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. I'm playing my PRS SE Custom 24. We're going into the Fender Blues Deluxe reissue amplifier back here, which is loaded with an Eminent Swamp Thing speaker, mic'd up with a Shure SM57 and an N22 ribbon microphone. This is my clean tone on the bridge pickup. So that's dead clean. What I'm going to do to begin with is show you the natural tone, which is the symmetrical clipping, and then we'll go over to dark, which is asymmetrical. I'll leave everything set the same so you can get a good sense of how this can sound. But get ready, this transforms your tone. I kind of prefer natural with the gain cranked. So there's 2 different tones without actually changing anything on the effect. Just by using this natural and dark switch in the center, you can get 2 vastly different types of tones. Let's take a look at the gain control. Now, one of the cool things with this pedal is you can turn the gain all the way down and get a really beautiful off-clean tone. I've compensated by turning up the volume slightly. Let's have a listen to this. This is neck pickup. Now, if you want it to be dead clean, all you have to do is turn the volume control down. Have a listen to this. And you get your clean sound back just by using your volume, which is pretty nice. Let's bring this up a little bit here. I'll go for about 10 or 11 o'clock. Let's go for a crunchy rhythm tone. That is so loud. Yeah, so this absolutely pushes a lot of wind. Now with the gain crank, let me show you the difference between natural and dark mode with higher gain tones. So this is natural. Yeah, no questions about it. This dark mode seems to give you a little bit more headroom, so it's less squishy, but in terms of feel, I much prefer the toggle switch down. Let's take a look at the choke control on the right-hand side. This is a high-pass filter, so it affects the low end. It allows all the high end to pass. You can think of it that way. This one is a low-pass filter, which allows all the low end to go through, and it affects the top end. So lows and highs, you can look at it like that. Now with the choke all the way to the left, it's essentially giving us the biggest and roundest sound. So I'll play the same thing a few times so you get a good sense of what's going on. Now you can hear that it's a much tighter low end with this all the way to this side. And I'm going to show you the same thing again on the extreme so you get a good sense of what's going on. So you can look at it like this. The further left this is, the fatter the low end's going to sound, which is great. Now this post-tone control does the opposite, so it's going to affect the high end. Here we go. Pre-tone control on the left-hand side is like a voicing control. So with this, all the way to the left, you're going to hear a very different sound to what you've heard so far. And then as I move it around, the voicing is going to change. It's not adding extra gain. Here we go. So you can hear how drastically that impacts the tone. Let's try the same thing now on the dark circuit. This has got a lot of potential combinations. And lastly, I want to showcase the 3 different chips that you can put inside here, just with everything being equal. So I've got the standard circuit in here. There's also a bright one and a mid-scooped one, which come in this little pack like this. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, we'll start with the normal one. We'll go to bright and then we'll go over to mid-scooped. Here we go. right, let's wrap this up. I'm going to give you my final thoughts here on the Audile Toad. Now, I actually really love the fact that they've done something different. You know, the amount of Tube Screamer, Klon, and Bluesbreaker clones I seem to have reviewed over the years is crazy. So well done, Michael and the team, for coming up with this particular pedal. It's great to see something a little bit different. Now, the build quality is awesome. The pots all feel phenomenal. You're not accidentally going to knock the toggle switch. It's one of those ones you really have to push. I can appreciate that. The inside of the pedal looks beautiful as well. I love the fact you can mod the chips. So if you're looking for an overdrive and distortion pedal that can cover a lot of ground, this is an absolute no-brainer. Now, I got to use this in the context of a live band mix here at the house when we were doing some recording, and I was very impressed with this. I think one of the things I can appreciate about it is once you dial it in and you're happy with your sound, you can just ride your guitar's volume control, and the dynamics are great. It will clean up beautifully when you turn down, wind it back open, and you've got yourself a really thick and juicy distortion. The closest thing that this kind of reminds me of, to some extent, but not completely or at all in some other ways, is the full tone plimsoll. It has a very similar sort of chugginess to it and feel under the hands that that pedal had, but it doesn't have that harsh bright end of the full tone when you started to roll in that distortion pot. So yeah, it's a very musical pedal and you can get heaps of cool sounds out of it. I think what I'll do coming up on another video is just showcase some different tones with this without all the yapping. So if you've enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up. Thanks again to Michael for sending this out, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.